travelers and guests to Magic, the Friendly Tavern. I'm Will. I'm here to talk to you today about my Elves deck. This is the deck I win most of my games with. This is the deck that I've pushed the hardest. And it recently changed. It recently changed because of rotation. And I had to find new Elves. But luckily for me, I happened to be watching a Casey Mon stream and saw a couple of things I could plug in as elves that were actually very excellent. Thank you, Casey Mon. So let's go over the deck. First of all, we have two Skimpar Avengers. These say whenever another non-token elf or berserker you control dies, you draw a card and lose a life. These come out early. I like to put these out for protection against removal against my other elves because they really don't want me drawing cards. But these things are great. 3/1s too, and when they get pumped by your lords. Really fantastic creature. Next up, we're going to talk about one of the engines of the deck, Elvish Warmaster. 2 mana 2/2. Whenever one or more elves enters the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 green elf token. This can only trigger once each turn. You put two of these out in the same time, you'll make two tokens at the same time. You'll basically have 4 power in play for 4 mana. Or, well, you'll actually have 6 power in play for 4 mana across 4 bodies, is what I meant. And then it's got a second ability. You can pay 5 and 2, and elves you control get +2/+2 and gain Death Touch till end of turn. This is an Anthem effect. This is great. I use this ability a lot, and I can show you how to get it cheaper, too. Next we have a 2 mana 1/3, and whenever it comes into play, it can exile a creature card. If it does, I can destroy target or exile target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. It's a changeling. It's an elf. It counts as an elf. A 2 mana 1/3 elf that gets rid of an artifact or an enchantment just by exiling a creature card. It's great. I love it. It works really well. This is one that I picked up from Casey Mon. Actually, great creature. Next is another one that I picked up from Casey Mon because I forgot this elf existed. This is a 2 mana 3/2, and it also counts as a cleric, rogue, warrior, and wizard for the effects of a company deck, but that doesn't really matter to us. What does matter is the 3 mana kicker for 5 mana allows us to reveal the top 6 cards of our library, and I can put a card that shares a creature type with it from among them into my hand. So, basically I can get an elf with it through the top 6 cards. So it acts as another copy of Herald. When we get to him, you'll see what I mean. So this is great. 2 mana 3/2. It's wonderful. It works really well as an elf. It works really well in this deck. Next up is our non-elves, but we'll go ahead and talk about our non-elves here. We've got destroy target creature you lose to life, Infernal Grasp, of course, I'm running the 4 of. I've also got Power Word Kill in here as a secondary flexible kill spell at 2 mana. So that's 6 removal. I've also got a 7th piece of removal that destroys any target non-land permanent an opponent controls. It also finds a forest card and gives our creatures Death Touch, so it's good. And our last non-creature spell in here actually deals with elves, so it's Elven Ambush. We get a 1/1 for each elf we already have in play. So if we have 4 elves in play, we can make another 4 elves. It works really well for us. We are definitely a go wide strategy, as you will see. Like Warmaster makes a ton of elf tokens. This right here, if it dies, I can return an elf card from the graveyard to our hand. This is great to get back our War Masters or whatever else. Realmwalker is another one that I got from Casey Mon. I didn't realize it's a changeling, so it counts as an elf. When it comes into play, I choose a creature type. I can look at the top card of my library at any time, and I can play spells of the chosen type from the top of my library. So it allows me to play elves from my elf deck off the top. It's great. Then we have Herald. Menace 3/2/3. A 3/2 for 3 with Menace is great. This guy really punches through. I get a lot of damage through with that Menace. A lot of people doesn't realize how to block Menace. A lot of people forget that he has Menace. But when he comes in, I look at the top 5 cards, and I can put an Elf, a Warrior, or a Tybar card from among them into my hand. So Tybar is this planeswalker over here. I can grab any of my elf creatures. So he's really, really good. I'll play him out and then swing with him, and then play another one out and destroy the one that's already swung to basically give him vigilance, but just to dig deeper to find my elves. I'll do that sometimes. That's a play I make. He's great. That's why there's 3 copies of him, even though he's legendary. Next is our 4-drop elves. We have Skimfar Shadow Shade, which deals... They lose X life, where X is the greatest number of creatures I control that share a creature type. So I would name elf. Or I can gain life. Sometimes I gain life, but most of the time I make them lose life. I have killed many players with this. Straight up like a fireball. It works really well, especially after an Elvish Ambush. Oh, those cards work really well together. Next, I have 4 copies of Canopy Tactician. I've overloaded my top end. Yes, I do die to mono red burn and really fast decks, but with the overloaded top end, I have a much better game against the really, really strong decks at the later levels. All my elves get +2, +1/+1. Now, see, I can tap this to add 3. So if I have 4 mana, a War Master, and a Tactician out and a few tokens, I can go ahead and start tapping the 4 mana plus the 3 mana to go ahead and get this overrun ability online. These 2 cards, the War Master and the Tactician, are great together. Next is Tybar. Tybar has elves I control at black mana. So again, if I have enough tokens, I can go ahead and get into War Master's ability early. Next, he says, +1, put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target elf and tap it against Death Touch until end of turn. Pushing through with the Death Touch and the +1/+1 counter is really good before combat, but he's really good to untap something later. Like, say you need 6 mana, you could tap Canopy Tactician for 3, then put the counter on it, untap it, then tap it for 6. So that works. Then his 0 ability, which doesn't give him any loyalty either way, is to create a 1/1 elf token, and that comes up a lot, and it protects him, and it's good, and it adds to your team. Then for -6, he's got a great emblem. This emblem says, whenever you cast an elf spell, it gains haste until end of turn. You draw 2 cards. You draw in that 2 cards. It's awesome. This guy works really well. That's why there's 3 copies in there. I will definitely put him in, plus him, use an ability, and then drop another copy, and then use a different ability. I've done it before. It works well. This deck will spit out tons of token. I can put up a lot of damage with this deck really quickly. I also have the Eye Tyrant in here to make one of my lands into a 3/3, because it just helps add to the power on the board. Or if there's been a Wrath and there's nothing else out there, at least I can start activating it and still get that damage in. We have one MDFC, this is a pathway, MDFC, it's either black or green. And then we have a copy of Skimfar Elderhall. It comes in play tapped, but it adds green. And for 5 mana plus this, so it's 6 mana altogether, we can give target creature we don't control -2/-2. Kill something of theirs. And we get to create 2/1/1 tokens. That's the great trade-off, is they go down 1 creature and we go up 2. And I've had to use this for reach before. It's worth a copy. 8 swamps and 11 forests, and that's it about our deck. That is Elves in a nutshell. Again, this is Will at Magic, the Friendly Tavern. Happy pack pulls, and as always, happy games.